So to set up your area for success, what you're gonna wanna do first is take your paint set, pop it open, and we're gonna give it a little inspection. All of these are mostly just the color that they are, but notice how this one has some other paint in it. So what I'm gonna wanna do is rip off a little piece of paper towel, get it damp. You don't want it dripping wet. And then you're just gonna wipe out that area a little bit. And if you ever need more of something, if you need more paper towels, if you don't like your brush, if you realize the paint set you grabbed is not ideal, you guys are welcome to. Good morning. Next thing to set yourself up for success, if you are right-handed, put your water on the right side. If you are left-handed, put your water on the left side. And then you're gonna take your paper towel and put it underneath your water. All of this has a reason. So the reason you put your paper towel underneath the water is now when you go to use it, your paper towel is not gonna move on you. It's really frustrating if you go to use it and it's moving everywhere. You will find that we go through a lot of paper towels in this class. It's just part of cleaning up your stuff. If you don't like how many paper towels you're going through, I personally at home rinse all mine and I just reuse them. It's not a big deal. Next thing to set yourself up for success. You cannot trust the last person cleaned your brushes well, because who knows who cleaned them. So go ahead and swish each brush in the water and swish it back and forth, you know, at least 5 or 6 times. Give it a little shake and gently wipe it on your paper towel. You shouldn't see any pigment coming out of your brush. So if there's a color on your paper towel from your brush, continue to repeat that until it's clean. So if I still had pigment, I'd go back and swish, shake, wipe, and keep doing that till there's no more color. You should have what's called a flat brush and a round brush. The way you can tell is this one's been pressed, and it's usually in the shape of a rectangle. The round brush is circular, the way it's pressed, and you can easily spin it in your hands if you put the metal tip in your fingers. Then your sketchbook can just go right below all that, and you'll be ready to paint. And then another one going the other way. We've got a line down here, a line there, so we should have 4 areas. Again, you don't have to put a line on yours. If you can just work in those 4 areas, that's great. So the first one we're gonna do, go ahead and take your round brush, get it wet. You can use any color you want. I would encourage you not to use white because it's gonna be hard to see, or yellow might be hard to see too. So pick any color, and then when you grab a color, do at least 6 or 7 strokes in the color, because that'll get you a lot of pigment on your brush. That'll make your colors more vibrant. So go ahead and see how thin of a line you can make in the top left. And when I say thin, we're not pressing hard. We're barely touching the paper, and then eventually you're gonna go down and press harder. You don't wanna damage your brush, but you wanna see how wide of a line you can get. So go thin to start and really light and delicate, and then slowly put more pressure on your brush till your brush gets wider. This should give you a sense of the thinnest line you can make with the brush you have right now, and then the thickest line you can make with the brush you have right now. The one that's more fun, go ahead and grab some more water, grab some more pigment. Utah is so dry that oftentimes watercolor will dry out fast. This time we're gonna make S shapes. So just kind of go up and down. But as you curve, go ahead and pull your brush up, push your brush down, Pull your brush up, push your brush down. Kind of like a little wave. And you should get areas that are thicker and thinner. So the thicker areas, again, are when we push our brush down harder. As we come up with our brush, we get those thinner areas. One that's kind of fun to do if you have space is if you press your brush down and pull it up, you'll almost get like petals or leaves. This one's pretty hard to do. So you press your brush down firmly, pull it towards you, and then you'll get like a nice little delicate line. If that one's challenging right now, that's okay. We'll revisit that one. Go ahead and rinse your round brush off. And then again, you want to make sure it's clean, so just wipe it on the paper towel so you can see that it's clean. And let's pick up our flat brush. Go ahead and get that wet, and let's pick a new color, just to have some variety in life. Again, swirl that around about 5 or 6 times so you get brighter colors. And then this time, take your flat brush, but turn it so that you're at its thinnest point. And try to make the thinnest line you possibly can. And it's okay, like mine wasn't straight there and I accidentally popped up. It's early. It's okay. I'll zoom in a little bit more on this so you guys can see the actual painting. See if that helps too. Yeah. So we went the thinnest way with your flat brush. Now we're going to grab some more pigment. Take the widest part of your flat brush. Start doing a line and then see if you can smash your flat brush just a little bit. We want to be kind to that brush. But the variation of line from thin to thick in your flat brush should be a lot greater than your round brush. And then we're going to do the same thing with the S line. So grab some more paint. And then go ahead, and when you do this, you're going to freeze your hand on your brush. So it's not going to turn. Just freeze your hand on it, and your strokes are going to go up and down so that you get some thin lines right there and some fat lines right there. I went a little bit outside of my box. That's okay. And then clean that brush off. You'll probably find that your flat brush is a lot harder to clean. But you can eventually get it all cleaned out. Let's grab a pen or a pencil and label those real quick. So that top one we did is our round brush. You can just write round anywhere next to it. And then the one that was your flat brush, anywhere next to it, just write the word flat. If you leave your brush in the water, like whoop, this, it'll actually over time press your brush down, and so the bristles will get damaged, as well as the water will get in here, and then it'll make it so that your handle pops off from your metal. So try to take the brushes out of the water, so don't drown your brushes, and just set them down off to the side on your paper towel. And I know we didn't talk about that, so if your brush was in the water, that's okay. Another thing is if your water gets to the point where you can't really see through it very well, then we probably need to trade it out. So oftentimes when people work with watercolor, your painting will get muddy all of a sudden, and you're like, what's going on? It's just because your water needs to be changed. So again, if you at any point need to change your water, feel free to. Cool, let's do the next square. So go ahead and take whichever brush is bigger. So if your flat brush is bigger, grab that. If your round brush is bigger, grab that. And then we are just going to paint with water on the inside of our square. It's kind of like an invisible painting. You want a nice amount of water, but you don't really want a puddle either. If you do find that you have too much water on your page and it's rolling off and you're starting to get a river, you can just dab that with your paper towel, and that'll help you control your water. Watercolor is just a couple of things. It's water and pigment and just their relationship. So you've got to understand your water ratios and your pigment ratios. Now that this area is nice and wet, go ahead and pick out any color. And again, rub your color about 5 or 6 times. With this one, we want to take this color and we want to blend it so that it's all about the same tone. So try to push the pigment around. And as you push the pigment around, the pigment will disperse in the water. So that's called a wash. Oftentimes artists will do those as like their background color. Or if you wanted to fill an area really quickly, putting that water down first encourages the pigment to diffuse across the page. So when you're done with that one, below you can label it wet on wet wash. We're going to do something really similar to this one below. So go ahead and start it the same. Give yourself a square on the inside of your square, just with water. If you noticed you used way too much water last time, try to use a little less this time. Or vice versa, if you noticed you didn't have enough water last time, give yourself some more water this time. Thanks for coming back quickly after getting your picture taken. What we just started is we're filling in this square down here with water, so you could probably do that with us. This one's really fun to do, and we're gonna do a variety of colors. So with your smaller brush, go ahead and pick at least 2 different colors, and you're just going to put dots of color on the wet areas. Space them out a bit so that you can grab your second color and if you have space for a third color, go for it. Yeah, just doing dots of different color on that wet surface that you made. And try to space your dots out so they don't mix too much. They can mix a little bit. If they mix too much, then you'll typically get like a weird brown. But if they mix just a little, then they'll usually mix and make a nice color. And this one is also called Wet on Wet. The last one that we're gonna do is probably the most challenging one. That's all right. I think you guys are up for it. So go ahead and grab your flat brush. And we are going to clean it off real good. Make sure that you don't have a ton of water on there. So when you touch it, if you squeeze it, you shouldn't get puddles out of it. And if you are, just keep squeezing it until it's fairly dry. And then you're going to want to pick a pigment that is still wet. And you're just going to grab it from the edges of the pigment. Then, this is the messy part. Take your finger and gently go down the brush so that it separates the bristles. And then take a stroke with that brush, just a delicate stroke, barely touching the paper. And take that stroke all the way across your paper. And hopefully at some point, your brush starts to dry out and you get a texture. If your brush is still fairly wet, try to dab it off on the paper towel and try to do that stroke again. Dry brushing is not easy because you have to pay attention to how much water's on there. This will let you do grass, eyelashes, fur, trees. It's a fun technique to figure out, but you really got to pay attention. I'll scooch that up a hair to how much pigment is on your brush as well as how much water. Now what you can do is kind of set this off to the side. I'm going to give you a blank sheet of paper, and what I'd like you to do is pick one of the techniques that you like that we did today and incorporate it into any type of painting you want. So it could be a realistic painting, it could be an abstract painting, it could be just you having fun and playing. That's fine. So I want you guys to get comfortable using watercolor. So this will be yours, and then we'll let this dry. After we're done with this, we'll upload everything to Canvas.